All right, I will get to start. My name is Shenzhan Liao, directing the education programs at China Institute and also the head of the School of Chinese Studies at China Institute. For a welcome to today's workshop, part of the matter, Etymology to Learning Chinese. For some friends, if you can just raise your hand or use the feature, it's the first time to join China Institute's workshops or programs or anything, that would be great. It looks like we have a lot of old friends here, but some new friends. Just quickly, we are located in New York City since 1926. We've been really advancing a deeper understanding of China through our education programs, arts, public programs, and teaching Chinese language and culture. So that's 96 years ago. So it's a long time ago, and now we are online. This professional development workshop is designed for K-12 educators, but I'm so happy that some of the students of Chinese language are also here. And that speaks to our heart, how people are interested in this topic. So supported by our Confucius Institute, this workshop is in partnership with Project DCLT at NYU, New York University. I'm glad that Professor Frank Tang, for many years working with China Institute, with our Confucius Institute for providing trainings for teachers of Chinese language and culture and beyond. I'm glad Professor Tang is here. So before I jump into more details of the workshop and introduce our distinguished speaker of the workshop tonight, I would first turn to Professor Tang. And my colleague, Yongqiang, is behind the scene because Professor Tang perhaps will talk about the upcoming workshops. So yeah, Yongqiang is the master behind the scene to control all that.
Oh, so, thank you. Thank you, Shenzhan, for giving me an opportunity just to give greetings to everyone. And I'm so delighted that Wang Laoshi is able to join us to give us this wonderful, wonderful talk. Imagine I'm just taking a quick look at people coming, where they are coming from. And I did a little counting. Country-wise, we got people from Ireland, Hong Kong, and Malaysia, and China. And then states-wise, we have California, Indiana, Oregon, Maine, New Jersey, New York, Virginia, Florida, oh my God, and North Carolina, and many more to Philadelphia just coming in. So just imagine this is a worldwide interest in this very topic, and with our distinguished Wang Laoshi. And Wang Laoshi and I, we had a wonderful chat before we came on board. And we both, Wang Laoshi used to teach before he went on to teach in Columbia. He also taught at NYU. So we were colleagues in some sense. And of course, I was way behind him. And I just want to also say a few words about DCLT, the new NYU Center for Developing Chinese Language Teachers. And the wonderful news is that Shenzhan and Xiaoqiang and Wang Laoshi, and to all of you, we got another year, another round of funding from Freeman Foundation. Just the news just came in today. So we will continue to work with China Institute, continue to with Shenzhan, and we will continue to provide help, technical assistance to teachers of Chinese to work hard in our field. And we have one event coming up in January about Chinese New Year. Shenzhan will show us the slide, and this is the slide. And it's in January the 20th. And we are going to invite one of the Chinese language teachers from Washington State to work together to develop a thematic unit using a content-based approach and to develop a thematic unit altogether. So welcome everyone to join us on January the 20th. Okay, I'm turning the floor to Shenjian.
Thank you, Professor Tang. I look forward to that workshop as well. As well, we're talking about professional development. As a reminder, K-12 teachers of New York State, you are eligible to have CTLE certificate for attending this workshop. So we will share the survey at the end of the workshop that would allow us to collect necessary information. So stay tuned. Now, please allow me to introduce Mr. Ben Wang, Senior Lecturer in Language and Humanities at China Institute. And to my knowledge, to my understanding, to my experience, who's a charismatic educator. Some of Mr. Wang's students here in this very workshop can testify that. He's also an award-winning translator and a master of bridging Chinese culture, humanities, language with Western audience. You can read more from his very brief bio that cannot really capture his achievement, but I must admit that I myself is a student of Mr. Wang. And through his teaching of etymology, classical poetry, and Chinese language, Mr. Wang truly opens a door for me and many of his students to rethink how Chinese language, by nature tonal and pictographic, works to construct sentences, meanings, and beauty in a way that is different from Western languages. So I hope today's workshop will open some doors or deepening some others' understanding already on this path. Given the time that we have, we only get to taste through carefully selected examples today, but we will have a longer course. If we can move on to the next slide, that Mr. Wang is going to teach through China Institute's online courses that also will delve into more depths of the etymology of Chinese characters. And there's another end of the year event that I would love to invite everyone, but it's in person and in New York. And I hope either I will meet you online in the future or welcome you in New York at China Institute. We do look forward to have questions and discussions towards the end of the workshop. You're welcome, like I mentioned at the beginning, to put your comments and questions in the chat box throughout the workshop, either in English or in Chinese, and we will get to them at the end. Now, without further ado, please allow me to turn the floor or the screen to Mr. Wang.
Thank you, Shenjian. Thank you so much for your very kind introduction. Yes, I have been teaching for a long time. After teaching Chinese for over 50 years, more than half a century, I am of the opinion that the quintessence of the Chinese culture lies in its language, both written and the spoken, the written Chinese in particular. Or shall we say that all things refined and beautiful in Chinese culture are founded singularly on the written language, which makes calligraphy and the classical Chinese poetry the highest esteem held by members of the intelligentsia in and out of China. All languages in the world are fascinating and interesting in their respective cultures. But for a true uniqueness, the Chinese language is nonpareil, in that it is a magic blending of music and painting, in that spoken Chinese is music and written Chinese is painting. When the two met, when the music aspect and the fine art aspect, when the two aspects of the language met, they fell in love, and when they wed, the language becomes a language of high visceral quality, as opposed to all the Western languages being cerebral languages. The Chinese written language suggests a string of pearls, in that each and every Chinese character, meaning word. So that is a fine translation of each unit. When you see one word, actually in Chinese learning and in teaching Chinese, we call it a character. And I think that is one of the best translations there has been, because every character to the Chinese happens to be a living thing, a human being. There's a story to tell. Every Chinese character is like, it suggests a pearl. So every Chinese character is a pearl. When you put it on your palm, you can see its luster, its luminous lightness, and you see its beauty. And when strung together, when put together, it makes up a radiant line which explains that this language, Chinese language, is, in my opinion, the most eminently suited for poetry than others, in that every character is a pearl. And for a poet to choose the right character is an art in itself. So when you read a line of only 5 characters, you see 5 beautiful flowers or artwork. Each character can mean so many things. So one 5-character line could have 10, 15, or 20 hidden imageries, hidden meanings. So I think the written Chinese language is most eminently suited for poetry, which inspired this fact, this phenomenon, inspired a 6th century Greek poet and great man of letters by the name of Simonides from the island of Kia, who says painting is silent poetry, and poetry, painting that speaks. I do think Simonides was talking about the Chinese language. Maybe he was half Chinese during the 6th century. But I always think those lines are very fitting to describe the Chinese language. Conversely, the Western languages are more like exquisite pieces of embroideries. The Western languages, they are threaded with alphabets and structured by tenses. conjugations, prepositions, articles, among other structural words that do not exist in the Chinese language. Because the Chinese language, every character is a picture. Every character has a tale to tell. So there's no way to conjugate a Chinese verb. And so many Chinese nouns, characters that are nouns, they can also be verbs. So we don't have any of these things. And that may explain as to why prepositions are the nemesis to most Chinese people who study English. At least they still are to me. To this day, after more than half a century spent living in this country, I still have trouble, a lot of trouble with prepositions. Even to this day, I can't tell the difference between 2 and 4. I always debate with myself whether to use to me or to say for me. Because in the Chinese language, we simply don't have prepositions. What is translated into English prepositions are verbs in Chinese. If you think about it, all the prepositions are actually verbs. They must be followed by a noun. So in the Chinese language, there are no prepositions. That's why prepositions are one of the worst headaches to the Chinese people who are studying English. And also like plural. In Chinese, we don't have plural. We want to say 2 girls. We just say 2 girl, because that 2 tells you I'm talking about 2, more than 1. So you know it's more than 1. So we don't have S, we don't have plural, we don't have article, we don't have prepositions. We definitely do not have conjugations. So the exquisiteness of the Western languages, they are revealed only when they are, since they are embroidery. It's embroideries. So every word, English word, French word, Italian word, Spanish word, they're all like, every word is like a thread. You have to put this thread, you have to sew these threads together, and then you see, you can see the exquisiteness of this piece of embroidery. In written Chinese language, every character is fashioned out of a picture. Every character is a pictographic object. Every character, as I mentioned before, has a tale to tell. There's a story, which makes Chinese characters enormously interesting, tremendously fascinating. These characters, whether poetic, hilarious, comical, or quite often wistful and melancholy, they are the spirit and soul of the Chinese culture. And when these characters, when these beautiful characters with stories are accompanied with ideal sounds set to these characters and ideal tonal schemes, meaning pitches, are set to them, a perfect Chinese language is born. And so to give you an example here, an example is needed. So let us look at the first character that I chose to show you. to share with you. So, Lin Lao Shi, please, the character for Shan. Lin Lao Shi, 小强，
稍等一下啊，马上来。
Okay, so this is a character in its 3 stages of development, in its 3 stages of evolution. So the sound of the character is on the left top. It is S-H-A-N. And then the far left is one of its earliest form, which was created, I don't know exactly how many years ago, maybe 5,000 or maybe more. 5,000 at least or more years ago, this character was created. I'm sure you can see this. It doesn't take too much imagination for you to see that this is a picture of mountains with 3 high peaks soaring up into the sky. Class, do you see it? If you demute, then you can answer me.
Yes.
I hope you see it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then soon after, I don't know how many years after. So this character, some scholars in Chinese, they said we had to turn this very seemingly crude image, primitive image, into a written form of character. So it can be our written language. Then it became the center part, the middle one. So you need to stretch your imagination to understand what I'm talking about. So from the far left, the character, the picture, it underwent linear changes until the lines changed into the lines in the middle character, which is called the ancient seal type. Seal, S-E-A-L, as in to seal an envelope, seal type. Why is it called seal type? Because it is the most officious type of Chinese character. And so it's quite fitting to the Chinese to be carved on the seal, which is the Chinese answer to signature. It's very somber. It represents you. So everybody would have a seal to first to soak the face of the seal in some red ink and to put down on some very serious document. And in America, some people call it chop seal, but I don't like the English word chop. I think it frivolizes the Chinese language. I think seal is more appropriate. So I call it the seal type. Seal type is there to show somberness and seriousness. So this is the character. And then this character underwent different stages of shapes, but I decided to show you 3 shapes, 3 styles of mountain, which is pronounced as Shan. So this is the character. And on the far right, the third one from left, it is the current Shan. Class, do you see the mountain peaks? And do you see the residual impact in the current version? The residual impact from the ancient character for the same character, mountain. And as for the sound of this character, the ancient Chinese, they decided this character would deserve the sound of shan. How do you pronounce this sh in Chinese? If you are studying Chinese, and when you decide to study Chinese, you must remember that romanization is just a way to teach you to learn Chinese, to speak Chinese, but not one sound, romanized sound of Chinese character, Chinese language, sounds like how it sounds in English. ASH does not rhyme with the ASH as in the word shame. So you do not say shame, SHAN. AN does not rhyme with land or ankle, none of those. So although when you see the romanized symbol SHAN, do not ever be led into pronouncing it as shan, nothing like that. It is shan. What did I do with my tongue? My tongue curls up and the tip of my tongue brushes ever so softly the palate in my mouth. And then I blend. The final is AN. The initial sound is SH. So the initial sound dictates you as to where you have to put your tongue. You put the tip of your tongue lightly against the palate, and then you blend into the final sound, AN. AN is pronounced as an. You have to open up your lower jaw. So it's shan put together. SH is shi. The tongue is curled up. Then it's followed by AN. When they are blended, the sound is shan. So why is it that the Chinese would curl up the tongue and the tip of the tongue would go up to the palate? Because you are talking about something high. So it's a first tone. Do you see? That's the tone mark, that very small horizontal line on top of A. That is the tonal, that is the first tone line representing that the tone, the pitch, has to be high and even. It's even. It's up in the sky. You do not move. It's like watching an airplane flying smoothly in the sky. You prolong this high sound. So when you pronounce this character, it is shan. So while you're doing this, have you noticed, if you look at me, when I pronounce this character, I have to do shan. I have to crane up my neck in order to take care of the high tone. And my tongue is up there, everything to tell me I'm talking about something that is high. So if this is not visceral, I don't know what else is. That's why I said that this Chinese language is a visceral language. It's a combination of picture and music. So music is born, is part of this character. The sound is shan, and the picture is three peaks. And the far right is the current way to write this shan. It takes a great amount of imaginativeness to connect the earliest, the seal type shan and the current shan. But I hope that you feel the gestalt is more or less, they're alike. Class, can you still see the residual impact of the seal type and the clerical style in the modern style?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So this is the character for mountain. If mountain is high, now let's look at the next character. Now we have another character. Class, don't you think this character looks markedly different from the one we just saw? Class?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
Class, if I want you to tell me your guess of what the first one on the far left, what it is as an object, as a natural element, what do you think it is?
River.
Just tell me.
Like a
whatever you
river.
think. Very good, very good, very good. So what is the stroke in the center, the curved stroke in the center? That is the main course of a river, of a water course. And what's on the side is the ripples. It's all the small waves in a creek, in a stream, or in the river, in the Yangtze River, or in the Yellow River. Class, I hear sound. I wonder where it came from. So this character is water. So whereas the middle character is the second stage of the oracle, of the most ancient type. Do you see how the Chinese people changed all these lines? The character underwent linear changes again, and then it transformed itself into this. So starting with the second one, so Teacher Lin has marked this as number 2. So the number 2 picture for water can be indeed a written character. You can write it with a brush. And then after a few hundred years, or maybe even a century, the character was transformed into its modern form. It's water. So class, it would take plenty of imaginativeness to associate this current modern and with the earliest form. But once you know it, then you know this is water. If the mountain is so high, the river has to be low because the river is down here on earth. So what is the tone mark? It's not the leveled horizontal small line. In fact, it looks like a V. So it tells you it's something that the sound is dipping. The tone is dipping. It's the third tone. So how do you pronounce this? UI is nothing like UI in an English word. For instance, in the English word fruit, you have F-R-U-I-T, but it's oot. This is not oot. This is U-E-I. Whenever you see UI, there is an E. To the Chinese, that E is built in, so it's omitted, but it's still there. It's behind the scene. So how do you pronounce UI? It's wui, wui. And what is SH? As before, it's the tongue is up there. Sure. So it's third tone. What is third tone? Third tone is down, lowest. First tone is the highest, and third tone is the lowest. So water and river is the opposite of the character for mountain. So the sound is shui. Class, do you see how I lower my head? When I speak the word for river or water, I do shui. So if I combine mountain and water, once you combine the two, it means scenery or landscape or the special genre in Chinese painting, a painting of natural scenery, of the mountain, of a side of the mountain, or a side of a river. That is called a mountain river painting. Is the name of the special genre, because there's also a figure painting genre of Chinese painting. So shan shui put together, it can have two meanings. One is landscape, scenery, the site, natural site, or it can be the name of a special genre of Chinese painting. And the painting is about nature, Mother Nature. So class, can you see me when I pronounce these two characters? Shan, shui. And when I get to that shui, I come down, I lower my head. So if you pay close attention to how your Chinese friends, how they move their entire body and their hands and their head, their eyes, and you know that they're trying to do the four tones. They're trying to take care of the tonal schemes of the Chinese language. So shan shui. Is it quite clear, class? So this is what I meant, that this language is a cerebral language, and this is a combination, a blending of music and painting. So now, class, I need some time to tell you, for more than 50 years, for more than half a century, I taught Chinese language, and I threw in a lot of etymology. But because I found that my students were much interested in discussion about etymology of these Chinese characters. So then I realized how important etymology is to Chinese grammar, the structure, and where it should be placed in a sentence, because it's a picture. If you try to put pictures together, that means you're a filmmaker. So you're supposed to put the pictures, the characters, in their correct order, in their right order, quite as how thoughts would come out of our heads when we start to make speeches. So grammatically, the characters in a sentence must come out as thoughts do. So when you're studying Chinese language, you're studying the grammar of this language, you must always bear in mind that there are two English words that should guide you through your entire period of time of studying Chinese. What are these two words? Precision and sequence. So you must abide by the golden rules of these two characters, because the Chinese grammar, the structure of the Chinese language, must abide by precision and sequence, simply because every character is a picture. It's kind of as if you were David Selznick, who has made Gone with the Wind, and you cannot shoot the first scene with Clark Gable walking out saying, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." You start with Scarlett O'Hara sitting on the steps saying "fiddle-dee-dee," and on and on. So there is a sequence, precision and sequence. You can never change the precision and sequence in the Chinese language, except when you are composing a classical Chinese poem. Do you know why? Only when you are trying to compose a classical Chinese poem can you change them a little bit, because all the learned ones in the ancient times in China, because of class distinction, deliberately they would choose the most elegant characters, most elegant Chinese characters. They're like flowers. They would choose the most beautiful flowers. Only 5 characters per line. You see 5 flowers representing a lifetime, maybe. So deliberately, they created classical Chinese. So what the Chinese learned Chinese people considered riffraff, they wouldn't understand the classical Chinese poetry. So deliberately, they messed up the order. So in vernacular Chinese, the two words, English words, that rule the grammar of Chinese would be precision and sequence. So I must give you a very simple sentence, and I chose a very simple sentence to prove my point. So let's see the sentence, shall we? The line I have chosen is this. These are the Chinese characters. This is a 6-character sentence. And immediately below the characters are the romanization, the pinyin, the romanized system that we came up with in order to teach non-Chinese students. So these are the sounds of these characters. It is 我姐姐也不去. Class, do you see how the sounds, even though they are in English, the romanization is in English, yet none of the sounds, that W-O doesn't rhyme with woman. You cannot say wo. You have to say 我, because there's a hidden U. W comes automatically with a U built in. So W-O, you have to say 我. So the mouth is first, you take care of, you dwell on the U, then you blend it with O. So it's 我 instead of 我. This second character, J-I-E, I-E, it does not rhyme with L-I-E. Don't lie to me, L-I-E. Not at all. It's ye. Ye is the sound for I-E. So the sound is J-I-E is jie. And you see the third tone. So it's very low. Jie. and then repeat it. 我姐姐 ye. You say, you might challenge me. You say, wow, this year sounds a little bit like the English yet. But now let me pronounce the two. The English yet. But this is yeah. I did not say yeah. I did not do that. I say yeah. Yeah. So even ye, it spells the same as yet, but it's only a romanization for the Chinese language. So it's pronounced as yeah. And bu, it does not rhyme with but. It does not rhyme with bureau, bu as in the word bureau. It is, u is u. So bu is bu. So here is second tone, rising tone. You see the tone mark is rising. It goes up. So it's yeah, bu, qi. Now let's look at this q. This qu does not rhyme with the English word queen. I live on Queens Boulevard. It does not rhyme with qu as in the word queen. So q is qi. Qu is qu. It's a very strong, very intense. It's a very dramatic umlaut sound. Bu, qu. So this line, class, we don't have the time, and this is not a language class. I'm just trying to talk about the language and etymology. So quickly, let me get through this part. So this line is pronounced as 我姐姐也不去. So that's how you pronounce this line. And then below the romanized signs, I have the literal translation, mind you. This 我 means I or my. There's a slash. This slash means or. It can be I, and can be my, and it can be we, it can be us, it can be me. So it can mean 5 different things. Okay, but here within this context, it means my. 姐姐 together, it's a word. The second and third character together, it's one word. 姐姐 means elder sister. 姐 means elder sister. The second 姐 also means elder sister. So don't be misled into thinking the first 姐 means elder, second 姐 means sister. No. The character 姐 means elder sister. Just repeat it, reduplicate it here. The fourth character means, literally, it means also, or too, me too, too as in me too. And then the following character is 不, is a negation, not, or no. So if your Chinese friend wants to serve you something that you do not want, what do you say? 不. You can say it 3 times, which means, oh no. But instead of dragging the sound, 不, what do? You do it 3 times. 不. So that is the Chinese answer to your, oh no, thanks. 不. Here it's second tone. 不去. 去 is to go. So class, did you hear the tone? 我姐姐也不去. Class, you hear me going up and down, low and rising and falling and falling. Class,
可以，可以。
you can't hear me. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes,
now let's look at the pictures. Now let's look at the most important thing, the thing we are here to talk about. So let's see what they are as pictures. Let's study there. Let's look at the etymology of these 6 characters, shall we? Now the first character, the left-hand side is a hand. It's the picture of a hand. I'm talking about the eldest, the oldest version of this character. I, me, we, us, or my, or our. To the left, in ancient time, it started out as a hand. The Chinese cut down 5 fingers to only 3. Because, class, do you realize, as the ancient Chinese did, that out of 5 fingers, although the thumb and the pinky, they are of some use, but the main thing, in order to grab something, you need the middle 3 fingers. Do you agree? So that's why the ancient Chinese cut the thumb, they cut the pinky, and they leave only 3 fingers to represent a hand. So this is a hand. What is the hand doing? It's carrying a spear, a fighting tool, a spear. The right-hand side is a spear. So how come the hand is, the fingers are facing the left? It should be facing the right to hold the spear, don't you think? How come it's facing this side? Because they are people, when people are trying to put the weaponry or the weapon, put the spear on their shoulder, how do they carry it? Their hands are holding it this way, not this way. Class, are you looking at me? They're holding something on their shoulder this way, not this way. Class, are you with me?
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
this is the picture.
Yes.
Why do the Chinese put hands and a spear, a fighting tool, an arm? What an arm to mean we, I, or our, or my, or us. Why? Because this character in ancient times, when it was created, it meant we, or us, or our. It means all men, everybody must hold a spear. To do what? A spear to protect your land. Every man's duty is to protect your soil, your land, your country. So this is our job. Because the country is the extension of you. You are just one part of the country. So it's our job. We must all put the weapon on our shoulders to protect our land. So this character is what? So this picture seems very aggressive and very hawk-like. In order to balance it, you're talking about humble little me. So based on the tendency of being humble in Chinese culture, we see to it this character, its tone is low, very low. It's third tone. So when you pronounce it, it's wo. Look at the sound. Look at the tone mark. It's like V, very low. It's like a valley. So you say wo. So this is the picture for, in this case, in this sentence, it means my. Let's move on. And now let's look at the following character. Let's look at the following character. Okay, class, now we have a lot to explain. It's a little derogatory. So for all the ladies here with me, I deeply hope, I sincerely hope that you're not offended. But this is from the ancient times. So please forgive. The left-hand side show you there's a person on her knees. There's a woman. She is on her knees. The central stroke down. The vertical stroke. Class, Lin Lao Shi, help me a little bit. The central stroke. Here, there's a human being hiding inside of the left-hand side component. The center, in the center, the person, the one vertical line and the person's two legs underneath. This is a human. Class, do you see this human being?
Yes.
Yeah.
The human being happens to be a woman. This female, yes, thank you, Xiao Dan, Xiaqiang, 谢谢. So this human, and what is placed on this human's neck, on his head, on his body, there is a yoke, and with a big lock, and this yoke is locked. So this person is forced to be on her knees. And you see the central, the two small horizontal strokes here. It is the lock, to lock the yoke placed on her body. This character was created when China was turned from a matriarchal society into a patriarchal society. So there was a fatal battle between it took place. And the women, because they are more gentle, they're smaller, and they're physically, they're not as strong as men. So they were defeated, but they put up a very valiant war, but they lost the war. So men, China became a patriarchal society, and the men, in order to put them down, so they make all the women slaves. So this is the picture of a female slave down on her knees, and around her, or upon her, a yoke is placed and locked. So this is woman radical. This earliest form later on became its in the middle character. It becomes the left-hand side. Do you still see the residual effect, impact from the earlier one, class?
Yes.
And then the modern character becomes this. And now I think it looks lovely now. Yeah, you cannot see this. But don't worry about the Chinese women. So especially after 1949, the women in China, truly their status, social status, and women's status has always been high because we all come from women. It's not possible for us not to love, to respect them. I mean, the majority of us, most of us. So, I mean, I think a great deal of my mom, at least, and so now the women's status is changed on the mainland. So this is woman radical. Whenever you see this, the earliest and the not so early anymore, and the modern, the character has something to do with woman, because that is the radical of the character. Every Chinese character has a radical. If it's a one component character, then that one component is its own radical. Is it quite clear, class? Now, let's look at the right-hand side. This character is amazing. It's amazing. The change it went through. It's amazing. It makes you see the earliest history of China. So the right-hand side component in the earliest version of this character, elder sister, the right-hand side, those of you who are interested in pictures, I think we all are. Can you tell me what instinct tells you what the right-hand side is, or could be, or might be? Class, can anybody volunteer?
An animal?
No, I'm sorry, but at least this gentleman, your name is Eniola. At least Eniola tried. Can anybody else give me another try? No, okay, I will explain. Class, this is the picture of a body part. I will not say the word in English, okay, not to offend you, but it starts with V as in victory, okay? It is a very important part, body part, on a lady, on a woman. From it, we come. Every human being comes from that. Class, need I say more? Are you with me? Class, are you with me?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes.
So in earliest, this character, you can see how early it was created. A woman, but it's your mother. You came from that. So that represents a wonderful thing. It's indirectly referring.
Did you try to
your
say
mom.
something, honey?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Someone has said something. Hello.
没事，王老师，他应该是不小心开到了。
Okay. So, class, do you see what happens after China turned from a patriarchal society, from matriarchal society to a patriarchal society where men call all the shots? They changed the right-hand side component. Do you see that? And what do you think the middle character, starting that time, years after the first one was created. When men took over the land, they changed, they did away with the right-hand side component, and they placed another component in its place. And what does that look like? Is there anyone who would want to volunteer your opinion?
Yes, it's the P word.
P word, very good. So you
Thank
see,
you.
one is where we come from, of mom. And this is where we come from, daddy. Body part on the body of a man. But in the ancient times, it looked like this, but less polished than this. You see the modern, in the modern character, it looks very nice. It looks very solemn and important and very imperturbable. You know, it sits there. Whereas woman is moving, you know, it's more like someone who is dancing. So how can you put a woman and some body part of a man next to it to mean elder sister? It does not make any sense. But to the Chinese, it does. It makes a whole lot of sense. Because in Chinese culture, in Chinese language, there is a saying. We say, elder sister is just like your mom. Because in the ancient time, mothers are too busy trying to help your daddy, trying to help her husband to do the rice paddy work. At home, she has to cook. She has to take care of other siblings of yours, younger than you are. So starting the time when you are about 2 years old, a year old, or maybe even 6 months old, and your sister, who is 5 years old, 6 years old, or 7 years old, she starts to put you on her back. And wherever she goes to wash clothes in the creek, and you are on her back. So who in the family is the real one who brings you up? Your elder sister, unless you don't have one. Then your elder brother takes care of you. Then you will be beaten and all that. But that elder sister she loves you, but she's very strict. She will tell you what to do. So she is like your daddy when you're with her alone, spending all your time with her during the day. Only at night do you see your parents. Otherwise, you're with your elder sister. Whatever she tells you to do, you have to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to get the candy. You're not going to get her to protect you. Your father can never lay his hands on you because your elder sister will protect you. So elder sister is a woman who calls all the shots as far as you're concerned when you are a baby. So all of you who have elder sisters, don't you think they are very bossy? At least mine are. I have 4 of them. I had 4 of them. Now I have 2 of them left. Oh, they're very bossy, you know, to this day, they're still. So because this person is a loving person, you love this person, you are a little bit afraid of her. You're very obedient when you're with her, but you heed every word she utters. So she is very important in your life. So in Chinese, it's a dear one. So we reduplicated the character to show our affection. That's why in Chinese, even with panda, even with animals, China gave America 2 pandas, a pair of pandas in Washington, D.C. That name, I think, is An An Ping Ping or something like Ding Ding Dong Dong or something. And then you say, why is it that the Chinese love to repeat the character, to reduplicate the character? Because we like it. In English, you say, thanks. You have an S. Why do you have an S? Why don't you just say thank and walk away? You have to say thanks, meaning you have more one thank. So when we have lovely things or people with us, we love to reduplicate it. So verbs can be reduplicated, and nouns, only things that we like, can be reduplicated. Things that we don't like, we don't reduplicate it. So 姐姐 is elder sister. Now let's look at the fourth character. Now, class, what is the symbol of this character? Class, we just saw it. Hello?
Body parts.
Body parts on a man or on a woman?
Woman.
Good. So now it's singled out as one character all by itself. And we all come from that. No matter who you are, Trump or Biden. So everyone has a mother. I don't care who. So this is very important. So this character was created to function as what we call grammatically a modal particle placed at the end of a paean or a piece of prose writing, praising the greatness, the glory of your emperor, of your country. So at the end of the writing, of the composition, you see this character, yeah, meaning, wow, wow, amazing, amazing. So it's an expression of drama. It's a very dramatic expression to show wonder, to show great feelings of either enjoyment or praise or approval or agreement or enjoyment. And then during the 3rd century, when the Mongolians came to rule China, so when they saw this character, so some Mongolian leaders, suddenly he used this character as an adverb. So if I am with Shenjia together, now Shenjia is Shenjia, Ben Wang is Ben Wang. We're two different people. But when I see that Shenjia is drinking latte, the coffee, and I also love it. So the Chinese feel that, whereas A does something, B is different, but B, wow, wonderful, amazing. Obviously, you are two different human beings, two different beings, but this B, surprisingly, wow, what a surprise, also drink coffee. So all of a sudden, this character particle becomes an adverb, which means also. It means too, also. It means it is the Chinese answer to the French aussi, or the Spanish también, you know. So it's not sometimes people would think it's also, if it can be also, it can be too, T-O-O. But this is T-O-O as in also, not you're too good to me. No, it's not that too. This is like you. And then, so the character, you see the development of the character, the evolution of the picture is quite amazing. Now, this is written, the modern yeah looks like this. Now let's look at the 5th character. This character. What is the radical? Radical is the root of the character. You see a Chinese character, that character must have a radical. That means it's the root of the thing. The idea is not unlike the English words, those English words that come from, that were originated in Latin or Greek. So if you see the word like bene or mal, so when you see a word that starts with M-A-L, you know it's something bad, malicious, or malnutritious, you know, so kind of like that. But in English, there are old English words which really have no radicals. But in Chinese, every Chinese character has a radical. The radical is the heart of the matter. And the other component, sometimes one character can have 2, 3, 4 components, but there's only one radical to one character, and the rest are just reinforcements. So now let's look at this. I will have to tell you, otherwise you won't be able to tell. I tell you, the radical is the horizontal stroke. Now in the ancient times, it's a little slanted. Later on, it becomes horizontal. Now, can any of you volunteer your guess as to what the top line represents? One. I know. Yes, it most certainly looks like one. But what else? What picture does it represent? I want one more guess. Then I tell you. If you can't, then I tell you.
Oh, someone wrote in the chat box, shaking your head.
No, I like all those who voice, at least voice opinions or guesses, but those quiet ones.
About knife? Okay, I'll be not quiet. I say.
What did you say?
I say division of
what? I'm sorry, I can't understand you. I can't.
Okay, separation.
How about a knife?
How about a horizon?
Okay, class, thank you.
It.
I appreciate that you guessed. I really do, but no, none of that. This is horizontal line represents sky.
Well, that's what I said that.
Well, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I just said the separation of, I say, what would be heaven and earth, or sky and earth. So that
I didn't hear you say sky or heaven.
But that's what I did say, heaven and earth. That's but there's interchangeable, right? Science versus what was known before. So yes, but yeah, the edge. It's where they meet, or where it's.
Oh,
separated.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I'm sorry. You know how old I'm an old man, so I cannot associate so many things. I was.
I'm sorry too.
I was waiting to hear the word sky or heaven or God, but in Chinese, in the ancient times, when the Chinese people draw a horizontal line on top, that means the sky. That's the sky. And what is underneath is the birds. A bird is flying, and the bird's mouth is open. Okay, its beak is open. It's crowing. It's crying. It's going quack, 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 and then its wings and its tails. Do you see the 4 strokes down there? Class, yes. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So what does it mean? You see the bird, one bird has flown, has soared into the sky. Few seconds later, it disappeared. So where did the darn bird, where did it go? It's gone. It's disappeared. So this character is the Chinese answer to disappearance act, meaning no more, flown away. The bird is gone. So this character became the middle character is the second. It changed from the first version. It went through changes, linear changes, and then it became the middle component and middle character, and then it became the modern character of not or no. So do you see the modern one? And if you compare the modern one with the old characters, you say, "Wow, my God, the Gestalt looks a little bit like the old ones, but wow, it takes imagination to do that. Yeah, it takes hundreds, if not thousands of years for the Chinese people to come up with different ways to write these characters until the written language became the current one. And then in 1949, when People's Republic of China was established, a few years later, they started to simplify the language, but they stopped that. Now there is a trend of having the traditional characters restored, because it is only with the traditional characters that we can talk about etymology. Because when a Chinese character is completely simplified, it's very hard. It's almost impossible to talk about the etymology of the character. Now let's look at the sixth character of the last character of this. This is to go. To go. Qi. Get away from me. So it's fourth tone. Go. In English, we say go. You do not say go or go. You say go. Am I right? So in Chinese, the tone, the pitch is fourth tone. It's very from high to low and very, very decisive to say qi. It's a command. Get away from me. Go. So now let's look at the character. What is the top? The far left is the oldest. What is the top component? What does it tell you? How does the picture speak to you? What do you think the picture,
like a person, maybe
is?
like a person?
Who said that? Can I see you? Joe? No, Mr. Eniola. Are you the one who's talking to me? Who said human? I need to see you because I like you.
I think he's Irish.
Because you guessed right. Okay, it's a human being with his hand like this, class, with his hand, and his feet are his feet are split. So the guy is running or walking widely and say, "Oh, finally I'm free." So where is he? What is the bottom? Bottom is the gate, or the small gate of a house. So finally the person is getting out of the house. Are you with me? Class, are you with me?
Yes.
Yes.
The bottom is a gate. It's a door. When a person is finally freed, getting out of the door, go. Okay, I'm going. I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm free. So the character qi is a combination of a human being and a small gate. And later on, you see the lines changed. The character underwent linear changes, and it became the middle character, which is called the clerical style. And it is there to show a sense of seriousness, and official documents So the Chinese in ancient times would write in this style. And then it further changed into the modern style. So if you stretch your imagination, can you still see the ancient characters existing in the modern version, class? Can you?
Parts.
Yes.
Can you?
Yes.
I know it's a task. Okay, so now we see, these are the 6 characters, their earliest form, the evolution of these 6 characters. The 3, but actually there are at least 6 or 7 or 8 different shapes, different looks of these 6, every character. But I don't have the time to show you the so many different shapes of one character. So I just choose this line. Okay, so now a seemingly very simple sentence. If you tell the students, tell your friends the original pictures, show them the original pictures of these 6 characters, the line is no longer so simple. Now let's go back to that line, the original line, in the current writing style, current shape of that. See, now class, do you see how the line looks now? Now, do you see the characters, class? You see how different they are from what we just went through?
Yes.
Yes.
So now, the order. You have to establish I first. Don't you dare say the elder sister of mine. In English, you can say, the elder sister of mine. Don't you dare say that. What am I doing? I'm talking about grammar. So grammar and structure, grammatically, structurally, Chinese language, the order of the sentence must obey the rules of 2 words, English words, precision and sequence. First, the speaker needs to establish himself. I am alive. Why? Because I'm talking about my sister. So if I'm dead, I can't even talk. Do you agree? So how can you say the elder sister of mine? So in Chinese, you must say I or my. My beloved, respected, little feared, and loving elder sister. This very powerful woman in my life. Very important woman, as important as my daddy. The picture shows me. She's the person who wears the pants as far as I'm concerned. My elder sister, 姐姐, and I love her. So I reduplicate the 姐, so to be more loving to her. 姐姐. So 姐姐 is to call elder sister. Yeah, also must show up here, adverb, because in this sentence, there are 2 adverbs. The 4th character is an adverb. The 5th character is also an adverb. But between the 2 of them, 2 adverbs, then you tell me, now, since you tell us that there are 2 adverbs in this sentence, now I'm sure they can be interchangeable. No, this yeah must precede 不, also must precede not, because you're saying my sister, like my brother, or like me. You connect first, connect with the other person, with someone else, like someone else. Also must come out first, and then say also what? No, no, disappearance act, not negative. And not like the bird flying away, no. I don't see it anymore, no more, disappearance. No see what, no see going. So this activity of getting outside of the door to go somewhere, no. So never ever do you say 不 first, not first, and followed by 也. You say they're both adverbs. Why not? And in English, you can say, my little brother is not going. Neither is my elder sister. My elder sister is not going either. Or simply, is she going? Not her, not my elder sister. You put a not before, you negate your elder sister. Why? So the order, the grammar of the sentence, when you teach a student and an English language speaker, anyone whose native tongue is not Chinese, it's logic. Any other way is illogical. Therefore, it would be wrong. As the French would say, ce n'est pas logique. So never ever do you say 姐姐也不去我 or 姐姐我不也去 or mess up the word order. That's what I call precision and sequence. Sequence is first you establish me, I'm alive. Then talk about in my life, I have my loving sister. She likes someone else. So this like someone else, also its scope includes, covers this negation. Like someone else, no do something. Not no like. So never ever in Chinese can you put its 不 before 也. So whenever 也 sees or any other adverbs, if there are 3 or 4 adverbs, you see among them there is a 也. 也 must lead, and the verb must be first. So this is grammar. So the structure, do you see that, class? Would it be hard to remember? I don't think so. And if someone asks you, why is it this way? Then you can explain. So what is this wall? It's a modifier. Actually, it's mine. So what kind of sister? My sister. Subject. Adverb. Like someone else. Also. No. Not. 2 adverbs followed by the main verb, predicate. 去, go. And there's no goes. What do you mean goes? There's no conjugation. There's no tense. So there's no conjugation. So this is Chinese, this is grammar in the Chinese language. So 我姐姐也不去. Class, is it perfectly clear? So of course, I chose a very simple sentence as example, because I was thinking of choosing a poetic line, but it's too much because then I have to explain the structure and the characters. So I chose to show you how for more than half a century that I taught Chinese language, and this is how I taught. So I explain why. And this character, you might call it adverb, but you know what Chinese adverb is. It's unlike American English adverb. And as for my sister, as my sister and sister of mine, you don't have a choice. You have to say I first. You have to establish the person. What about her sister? Sister of hers. You have to say she, her sister, 她姐姐. You cannot say sister of hers. You know why? Because in the Chinese language, we simply do not have the word for of. Of doesn't exist in Chinese. Conjugation doesn't exist. And there's another important English word in Chinese. It doesn't exist. What's that? To have. To have. And to have not. To have, H-A-V-E. In Chinese, no. We only have exist. Yo. Exist or not exist. We don't have. So, class, I cannot spend so much time because then there would be no end. I could spend, it could take me, I could spend 10, 12 hours talking about these things. So, talking about Chinese language and etymology and all these things, a language that contains, that encompasses music and painting and all that, brings to mind what a great poet, the great poet, Tennessee Williams, has to say when he says, "What implements have we but words, images, colors, music, scratches upon our caves of solitude?" This is what America's great poet, Tennessee Williams, asked. Could he be referring to the Chinese language and etymology? Thank you so much. So I leave some time for Q&A.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wang 老师.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I leave the Q&A session to be presided over by Shenjan.
And I would invite Tang 老师 and other colleagues to join in as well. As well, Wang 老师 ended we got 20 minutes left, but
we have 15 minutes left.
Oh, yeah, you're more precise than me, perhaps.
Okay.
I just also want to share while Wang 老师 was giving the talk, the discussions in the chat room has been really active. I thank all of the teachers or participants are sharing their thoughts and also questions. It's quite inspiring in a way, because this is precisely a workshop like this that
Yes, yes.
We would want.
Yeah, I love the questions. You know,
exactly.
I love to answer questions if I know the answer. That is.
So because there has been since the very beginning of your lecture, there's one question that I hope that would sort of summarize some of the questions coming up. Because when we look at a pictographic Chinese character, anyone, whether we are looking at the modern form or the very ancient form, we would have our imaginations and the way of interpreting the images, and how the image is associated with the meaning of the character.
Yes.
So perhaps Wang 老师, can you talk about how you how you get the details of the characters? Are there resources or the ways of looking at the characters as well? You show this, you only show the 3 forms of the characters, but there has been discussions about like 说文解字 or other sources. So
Shouwenjiezi actually
a little bit about
is divided into 2. First you have 说文, that is 许慎, and then we have 解字 is 段语才, you know, 2 different scholars. And so, but I would say, should I share with you the history of my studying etymology? After I did not always know the significance of etymology until I was close to 40, maybe even over 40 years old, when I saw how students were excited about etymology. Then my interest was aroused. And then I made a point of studying at least the etymology of at least 20 characters every night. Remember, I think I told you this once. And I spent 2-3 years doing that. And so I would say, primarily, I get it from the radical, from the books, 说文解字. But all those great masters of antiquity, they did not talk about their feelings about the components and all that. And so sometimes I got it from some poets, other scholars during the Tang Dynasty, during the Song Dynasty. And then I would place some of my life experiences into etymology, combined, you know, blended with what I learned from the classical books. And the purpose is to make a fine and lasting impression on my student, for them to memorize, to remember this character. So to come up with your own idea of how to explain it, I think that is perfectly admirable, and I encourage it, as long as it's not too far away from the radical, you know, because we have to pay attention to the radical. If the radical tells you it's gold, it cannot be watery, you know. Yeah. It must, if it's water, it cannot possibly be soil, you know. So radical, what the radical is, radicals are the most elemental parts of our life in the world, in the universe, like the sun, the moon, air, and all that, different things. And so that, I think the other component, sometimes you would have 2-3 components. I think it's healthy, it's wonderful to put your own thoughts, your own interpretations. Over the years, great scholars would have different interpretations to these etymological explanations to characters. They don't agree upon one explanation. Great scholars had that's why in 2 books of etymology, 说文解字, neither one gives you a full explanation as I did. They just tell you, all they tell you is the radical is this, and the other part gives you the sound of the character, which is not true. It's not always true. It's sometimes true. I would say maybe 50% of the time it's true, but 50% of the characters, it's not true. The other component, the sound of the other component has nothing to do with the whole character. Yeah, so I would say, yes, there are books on etymology. But first of all, those books are written in classical Chinese and very dry. But since I have lived for so long, I have a lot of life experiences. So I throw in a lot of my own experiences into explaining etymology, which makes it a little more interesting. But what I explained today, everything was true. Nothing was created by me, you know. Sometimes, at times I would, but not today, because these characters are common characters. With some characters, you can have your different teachers might have different interpretation, but sometimes you cannot be totally wrong though. So to give an example, there's a character, ya, which means to want. Because I'm sure the majority of our class today, the majority would recognize this character.
Yes.
So the etymology of this character, or rather the argument of the etymology of this character, was one of the reasons I left Columbia. This character, we still have a few minutes, right? Okay, I make it very quick. I tell you the story.
You do have a few minutes.
Okay, I was assigned to teach level 2 and level 3. In other words, I did not teach level 1 Chinese when Columbia beckoned. So my students, they were all taught etymology by me. So my second year students, they following the semester, they went to third year, level 3. So the first day of school, they came into my office. They said, "Teacher, when you came to teach us second year Chinese, we had already learned this character, ya. So you didn't get a chance to teach us the etymology of this character." I said, "Oh, really? I don't remember." So they said, "What is the etymology of this character?" So I looked at them, 6 of them in my office, first day of school. So I asked them, I said, they said, "It's ya." I said, "Oh." I said, "Well, I'll find out from your teacher. I'm no longer your teacher. You know, I have graduated you, you know, you're gone. You have gone to level 3. So they said, our teacher said, it's Western woman. It means women want more. Women's desires know no bounds. They want this and they want that. They want this from Tiffany and that from Cartier. So they want so many things, especially the Western women. So the Chinese put West and woman, it becomes a character for want. I want this, I want that. So I stared at them fiercely and I said, "Don't lie to me. You know what kind of teacher I am." I said, "No one would tell you this." So they said, "Teacher, call her." The teacher's name is, as I said, I know the teacher. So they said, "Call the teacher on the phone, ask her." We're not lying. This is what she told us. We're wondering when the Chinese language were created, where did they know? How did they know that Western women wanted more material things from Cartier and Tiffany, no less? So they said, call her and find out. So by then, I looked at them and I realized that they were perhaps telling me the truth. So I said, really? Is that what she said? And they said, really, that's what she said. So please tell us, is it true? So I said, what do you think? So they said, we thought it was funny because it was thousands of years ago. Where did she get Tiffany and Cartier, you know, and all these stores? I said, of course it's not right. It's ridiculous. It's egregious. It's a crime. If the teacher doesn't know, he or she should say, I'm sorry, I don't know. Instead of telling you this absurd, preposterous story that came out of her mind. So that's why I'm telling this story. If something is so off the point, you cannot do this. You're damaging. You're telling them lies. So I said, it's totally wrong. How did she get this? You know, I'm not going to say the name. I just say that she, you know, I won't tell you who that is. I left Columbia a long time ago. I'm not going to, you know, bring up. I have no idea where this lady is. I said the top is not west to begin with. I said because and when the character was created, it didn't look like this at all. It looks like this. The left-hand side component. Do you see that?
Yes.
要耍
Yeah, this character later on became Shua, but this character, someone added another because it looks very much like like west. So this is not the west at all. First of all, it's another component, and the character derives from this.
Hello?
Hello, I'm writing this character. Derived from this ancient picture. You see the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It shows a man standing up there with his two hands pointing to the middle part of his body. What is the organ in that middle part of a human body?
Stomach.
No, on the side, little below.
Kidney.
Waist.
Kidney.
Yeah, exactly. Who said kidney?
A couple.
I said.
The kitten. Who is this?
Me.
Juhua?
Yes.
Jiang?
Yes.
Ah, I like you. I like
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a person pointing to the spot of where kidneys are. So to tell you, and what's the bottom? It's not a woman. It is a person with his 2 feet crossed, and 2 feet crossed, and 2 hands, 2 fingers pointing to the kidneys. Kidneys as long ago as thousands of years ago, the ancient Chinese realized how important that body part is. If that body part stop functioning, you die. Kidney is so important. So this character meant kidney in the ancient time when it was created. Because it's so important, the Chinese people later on, they use it in a sentence following the character, following the subject. My sister, yeah, my sister wants. It's so important. It's like kidney, very important to her. She needs books. So my sister, Yao Shu. So this Yao means need. Need is this need. It comes from kidney. Later on, because it's too popular, functioning as want, need. Having a necessity to do something. So for the character kidney, the Chinese people add a radical to it, which is flesh radical. Yao, waist, and kidney. If you go to a Chinese restaurant, you see this character followed by flower. It means it's huanyong, French huanyong in Chinese. It's kidney. Yao,
Delicious.
yeah, I think it's delicious. Some people, some Americans go, I love it, but I don't eat it anymore. So this is the radical of, this is the etymology of Yao. The top is a person pointing to the same person, two legs crossed. It becomes the character. And the bottom looks a little bit like woman. So it seemingly it's West woman. It doesn't mean West woman at all. West woman, what does it mean? So from that moment, I said, okay, this is Ivy League school, but I don't care. I don't need Ivy League in the to wear on my head. I can walk around saying I teach at Ivy League because I know that what's inside. I said, I leave. You know, I don't want to be here anymore. So
but this is a fascinating story. Thank you, Wang Lao for sharing. And also, I feel this is a wonderful example of how to really trace the source of Chinese character etymology versus the liberty of making sense and making meanings. When you look at the pictographic images of Chinese character,
but you
I feel this is really a evolving process. Even Xu Sheng, when he was writing Shuowen, he was making some liberty. Explanation of the etymology of characters.
One can't go wild.
Exactly. So there's a balance there.
The story, so to say that an ancient Chinese created a character saying that Western women needed more. But first of all, it's a disrespect towards women. And then where did the person, I must say the person was very imaginative, you know.
that requires quite some stretch. I'm so sorry to because of the time we are.
So if there's a question, let's answer one.
Yeah, I know. There has to be more questions to be asked and answered. If maybe some of the audience today would want to join your 5-session, 10-session course in January. So I would invite Lin Laoshi to post the link again in the chat box. And by the way, also for teachers from New York State, we have posted the link to the survey again. Please, if you want the CTLE certificate for 2 hours workshop today, you have to fill out that form. It's a simple evaluation which will be tremendously helpful for us, for Tang Lao Shi and us, and Wang Lao Shi, as well as for you to get the certificate from us.
Zhenjian, is it okay to have like 2 minutes to
please,
have one question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, if there's one question. Yeah, I would like to answer one question.
If there's one more question, please,
Yeah.
either you can unmute yourself or you can put the question in the chat box.
I just
And
want to say,
meanwhile,
I just want to say, it sounds like a good strategy would be to always look for the radical and let that guide the other.
Exactly. What a good statement. Did everybody hear it?
Yes.
Let the radical guide you, and then you look carefully at the other component, and then you figure out something. And if you still don't understand by then, what do? Call Ben while he's still alive.
I have a question about, since you just mentioned radical, I think it's fascinating when the word radical means, radical in English means wild.
I know. Radical has two meanings. One is like ultra liberal. Okay, that's not what it means in Chinese language. The second meaning is strictly exclusively referring to the Chinese language, written language. That in a character, every character has a radical, which means the main component, which decides what this character is generally about.
But how did the word radical, how was it chosen to mean that? That's what I found fascinating, is it's the word like a homonym, I guess, two different meanings that are totally not related. I mean, not even, yeah, anyway, that suddenly came to me since, Jim mentioned that.
I must confess my ignorance to you. I don't know. I'm just a poor old Chinese person. Okay, what do I know about English? You have to ask someone whose native tongue is English to answer that. That's my
somebody just in the chat box saying, let me just say, I don't see the English name, but the Chinese name Li Hailan says that radical also has the meaning of root in botany. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Li Hailan.
Yeah, 那个植物学, a radical can be.
我懂了，植物学里有，太好了 ，Thank you so much. But I have Oxford Dictionary doesn't tell me that.
Yeah.
I thank you so much. For years, I was in the fog. I was wondering why that radical. I always had to make special note to students. I said, this is not radical as an ultra liberal person. This means the root of the character. Now that you said it, it's related to botany. It makes perfect sense. Thank you.
不用谢。
谢谢啊，谢谢。你中文说得很棒哎。
Perhaps at this point, I will invite Professor Tang, if you have a few words that you want to close the session.
I would love it.
I'm just totally blown out of my mind. This is wonderful. Thank you. I was communicating with another teacher.
You're too kind.
She's a veteran teacher. She told me what you have been talking sounds very basic, but this is exactly many current Chinese language teachers would need to learn so that they won't come up with this kind of stories, a Western woman and all those stuff. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, not at all. I have found in my long life of long time of teaching and studying, I found that students are particularly turned on to these etymological discussions. You know, they love it. When I tell them about, there are more hilarious ones. You know, I can. There, some of them are outright sexy. You know, and so they really love those things. And sometimes they're very somber. They're very poetic and melancholy and wistful, and they're nice. So when I saw that their reaction, I said to myself, I think I'm on the right track. So I got myself more and more interested in etymology until I found out the close connection between grammar and what they are, you know. So because of he is who he is, she is who she is, that's why he has to be here, she has to be there, you know. Scarlett O'Hara has to be on the step and Red Butler has to walk outside out the door, you know. It's just a logic, you know, instead of, but because I personally, well, I might sound very dense, very ignorant about this, which I am. I feel that the Western linguistics are not necessarily good for teaching Chinese, because it's there's a Shanghai expression, 眼张富得病. You know, you force this all the linguistic the theories onto the Chinese language, and Chinese language is a pictographic and musical language, and it's not. It goes by precision and sequence, and it really has nothing to do with it, in my opinion. You know, so I just for years I taught the way I just showed. I don't teach anymore. I taught more than 50 years. I thought it was enough, but I still remember the enthusiasm that I could feel acutely and keenly from my students, and I think most of them, some of them, they liked me for that reason, because I taught them etymology, the stories behind these characters, especially when you are studying poetry. You know, it's without knowing etymology, you just lose so much.
I remember your etymological teaching, and it was wonderful for me. Thank you.
Jim, yes. Jim, I haven't seen you in class for a long time. Where have you been?
I'm here. I'm working on Confucius now.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I'm glad.
Good to see you.
Good seeing you. Thank you, Jim. Happy holidays.
Yes, yeah.
So I have to say happy holidays to all. And we shall conclude this workshop. Thank you, Wang Laoshi, so much. And also
thank you so much, Shenjian.
Professor Tang and for Yongqiang, Lin Laoshi to really behind the scene and well on the scene. You can see all those little marks and everything. That's the hand of Lin Laoshi, and of course all of you from all over the world, really.